Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show. This is the Daytripper Photo Show. It is episode number 150. 150. This is a landmark show. And as a landmark show, we should always have a really awesome guest on it. And we do this week. Lena Dawood is here. Hello.
Hello.
Many of you may know Lena from her troublemaker days on photo walks and all kinds of other things. I have to start off, with the troublemaker right off the bat. Amazing talent, amazing photographer. I love your vision. It's always so clean and so true to the soul. Your photography is just incredible. You've gone to OCAD. You're still in OCAD, right?
I'm still in OCAD. I'm third year graphic design.
Excellent. Graphic design. It's not necessarily photography. It's kind of a lot of
visual and communication and yeah.
Excellent. Oh, well, we'll hear a little bit more about that in a bit. But thank you so much for coming on this week. When I asked you, I wasn't sure if you'd accept, and you did, and I was very excited. So
thank you so much for inviting me. It's great to be on the show.
Cool. All right. Well, we're talking about inspiration, and I know for a fact that you are one of those characters in our community that just inspires everybody that hangs around with you. So when I thought about that, I was like, yeah, this is a perfect conversation to have with you, how to stay inspired and how to be inspired. And one of the things that you've mentioned to me in a previous chat was you said how one of the things that inspires people is the environment. And I never really thought of it that way. Your own environment can inspire you in different ways. We're going to talk about a little bit more about that as we get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation. But for now, I just want to read your quote here that you have on your page. You say, "I love photography. I don't only take pictures for joy. Photography is the thing that makes me wonder, explore, and express my feelings to the world. It also makes me discover who I am and what is that hidden. What is that hidden?" Okay, I just don't know how to read. It usually motivates me to. What's that?
Could be some grammar mistakes there.
That's all right. I'm just blaming it on my reading. That's what everybody does. It usually motivates me to write too. It might take me to. It might take me to write pages or just a couple of words that make sense to me. I love to learn, discuss, and share. That's your general open vision on everything, and I love that. And I think that's really. Really true to what this entire Daytripper community is all about. It's just all about joy and passion and enjoying what you're doing. And you kind of sum all that up. And every picture I see of yours, you can see that. So I love that. Excellent work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And beside you, as always, is my good buddy, Mr. Bousquet. How are you doing tonight?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm great. So I watched the show last week.
Oh, yes. I should probably formally apologize for that.
No. It was funny. It was actually really funny. And, I did come back and I did start watching it halfway through. I didn't want to come in because you were using my account at the time, and I couldn't sign in with my same account, so I didn't know how I was able to sign in. But I did chat to you, apparently too much. And
no, it was great. I watched it back, and I kind of, I'm like, I sort of skip, a quarter of the way in. It's like, oh, good, he's showing a picture and the camera's on me. Okay, that's good. I'll just, fast forward 5 minutes. Oh, good, the camera's still on me. Fantastic. This is good. It's going well. All right, let's go have it. It's still on me. Very good.
My favorite line was when you or Phil both said, like, I don't know how Bryan does this. But, it's fun. It's fun. And thank you so much for doing the show. I apologize for not being on. You did a great job. I laughed start to finish. It was awesome. Now, you may notice that Phil is not on the show tonight. Unfortunately, he came in earlier today on the Hangout before we went live, and he's just not feeling well. His cheeks are all red. You can see he wasn't doing it too hot. So he might be watching and chatting to us a little bit later on during the show. Time will tell. See if he may pop in if he feels better. But anyway, regardless, Phil, I hope you feel better. Poor guy. He's just a little guy. And I always feel bad when little guys get sick. Little people in general. They're so cute.
So, all hate mail goes to Bryan.
And we start again. Lovely. Mantej, hello. And he says hello to you, Lena.
Hello, Mantej.
Can you see the Q&A, Lena, as it comes in? Awesome, cool. So feel free, if you see a question come up for yourself, just go right ahead and answer it. Just jump right in and do that. Okay, so for those of you who did not watch the show last week, please do. It was hilarious. it was just a lot of fun. Gabe and Phil were on, talked about a bunch of fun stuff, did the photo review, and entertained me to no end. So I appreciate that. And now we'll move along. Michelle's watching. Michelle wasn't feeling too great either lately, so hope you're feeling better too. Lots of people feeling sick right now, eh? 'Tis the season.
Yeah, everybody go get your flu shots. Yeah. And if you're all like, yeah, I got the flu shot once and then I got the flu. No, just get your flu shot. There's no logical explanation for not to do it unless you're immunocompromised. Just get your flu shot.
Well, Shelly's sick right now. She's in the other room asleep, so I can't read too rowdy. I gotta calm myself down. So, anyway.
Can I do oh, shoot. I just closed down my whole browser window. Can I do a quick tech update?
Sure.
Okay, so 2 quick things. One, I went into the Apple Store today and took a look at the iPad Pro. Something I was very, very, very excited about. And the iPad Pro with the pen. And I have to say I was underwhelmed. Something I was not expecting to be. I was expecting to be blown away. It's a 13-inch iPad, so it's massive. They had 3 Adobe. I mainly want it for the Adobe apps, for the Lightroom Mobile, for editing on the go and stuff like that. They had 3 Adobe apps on there. One of them wouldn't launch on any iPad that I tried. It just crashed every single time. The pen wasn't nearly as accurate or as fast as I thought it was going to be. And even the iPad itself, just going from page to page and stuff, seemed a lot choppier than I was expecting. So it's the day of release. I'm going to give them a while for a couple patches and stuff like that. But, you know, if you're looking or thinking about the iPad Pro, I'd be interested in your thoughts because it was something I was really excited about.
Is this a new interface altogether? Like, is this something that they were challenged to build?
No, it's just it's a bigger iPad. I mean, instead of a 9.7-inch, I think, iPad, it's a 13-inch iPad. So it's beautiful hardware. The guys were touting the speakers. It's got 4 stereo speakers. And so I put on a song on the iPad Pro on full blast, and then I put the same song on my phone, which I'm going to go into next because this is my new love. And my phone was actually louder. So, yeah, I think maybe it just needs some tweaking or something like that. You know, maybe it just wasn't fully baked. So I'm gonna wait for a couple patches. But
cool.
Yeah, and the pen, I don't think it's any better than a Wacom tablet. In fact, I think a Wacom tablet is better as far as consistency and being precise.
And that's the concept of the pen, is to use the tablet like a pad, like a tablet.
Yeah, like a Wacom tablet or something. So and in Canada, the cheapest one that you can get, I think, is about $1,100. So I mean, it's a real investment, plus an extra $150 for the keyboard, plus an extra $100 for the pen.
I'm good. I've got my Sony.
So yeah, and that's the 32 gig version, not the 64, the 128,
that
which you actually want.
I really want to go back to an iPhone, but I won't ever. I don't think until they add SD expandability or some kind of expandability.
No, they never.
Because, I mean, this is a 32 gig phone, but if I didn't have a 64 gig card in there, I'd be full all the time. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so quickly wrapping this up, my new love. Everybody knows I go through a lot of phones. I've upgraded. This is my 3rd phone this year. I have never. This is the Nexus 6P. I have never, ever, ever in my life used a phone that I'm in love with so much.
I'll wave every time I see myself.
All, when I look at the phone, I see a reflection of Brian. Look at Brian over there. This thing is, the camera is better than anything I've ever shot with. Better than the Galaxy 6 Edge, which I had before. The build is unbelievable. The speed, I'm speechless when it comes to this. The fingerprint scanner is incredible. Everything about this phone just completely blows me away. So if you're in the market for a new phone and the camera is important to you and build quality is important to you and speed's important to you, the Nexus 6P. Man,
is that the one that you had when I was with you the other day and I commented on how amazing the screen was, or is that another phone?
Yeah, that was that one. Yeah, I just put it up to show you a video and you're like,
Yeah.
Dude, that screen.
Yeah, yeah. It looked like I was
just
looking out a window. It was insane.
Oh, it's just amazing. And the battery life on this thing, like my other phones, it's the ABCs of smartphones, always be charging, right? This thing I can get, I mean, I use my phones heavily. I can get 2 days easily out of this battery.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's just amazing. So if you're looking for a new smartphone, the 6P, I could go on and on about this thing for an hour, but we have the rest of the show to do. So
yes, we do. And I was really, really looking forward to having this phone with no term. You know, have that $70 less a month for my my phone, or $60 less a month that I have to pay. And now you show me this, so I'm gonna have a new phone again.
It's just, I was not expecting to be as, you know, I was underwhelmed by the iPad, which I was expecting to be overwhelmed with, and I was expecting this to just be, because I had the Nexus 6, and this is just the 6P. This is the upgraded version, and I figured, okay, it's not going to be that different. Oh, the other thing too, it's got USB-C port, which supports rapid charging, so you can plug it in for half an hour, and it gives you 8 hours of battery life.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, okay, on to the show. Sorry.
No, it's cool though. Neat stuff. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to go to the Q&A quickly here. Marjorie and Gary both are excited to see you there, Lena, just so you can know.
Hello, Marjorie. Hello, Gary.
And Gary is funny.
Hello, Gidas.
He made a quote, and Gatus, of course, says hello to everybody, so he's included us in this.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. And Blake says Apple screws up a release again. What a shock. Tammy's saying hello. Hi, Daytripper Photo. I haven't seen Tammy in a little bit. She's been on vacation. And Raymond Barlow says, better off with a MacBook. I agree. That's what I live with. But a MacBook isn't necessarily the same kind of deal.
Yeah, I have a MacBook Air, and you know, I have an iPad as well. And I was just thinking, you know, something to do edits on the road, something to do Lightroom Mobile on, something to show my portfolio on. I just wanted it to be bigger and better and beautiful, and so far it's not convincing me.
Well, to get back to Gary Monroe for a second, first of all, thanks for watching. Secondly, when I made the post that Lena was going to be on the show, Gary posted, woohoo, awesome! Make sure you ask her about footwear choices when walking in the woods and the repercussions of making the wrong decision. So, Lena, what's that all about? What's Gary talking about?
I don't know what he's talking about.
Come on, out with it. You can tell us.
Okay, well, the last shoot I went, Gary was with me, and then I was wearing a boot. Like, I don't know what you want to wear on that day. It was in the forest. I was looking for the light, so, like, all around me, not paying attention where I'm walking. And suddenly I was in a mine. What I mean by a mine is a horse or a dog, probably.
Oh my. Yeah, big step of heaping stuff.
Yeah, that. Well, it's not. It wasn't only outside of my shoes.
What?
It was inside.
Oh dear.
Because it was lit. Yeah.
Oh.
Happy, Gary, now? Happy? All I can say is I smelly, but I kept shooting.
Well, there you go.
Oh, that is so wrong in so many ways, but I'm going to laugh about that for about a week. That was great. That's just, how does it get inside? I don't even want to know. I'm just going to move past it.
It reminds me of an article. I used to ride motorbikes a lot, and so there was a motorbike magazine that I subscribed to, and the head title was Real Bikers Ride. They may scream a little, but they ride. And it was about how this guy went out in the winter, and he was getting too cold. He had a thermos full of chicken noodle soup, and he poured it on his face, and the noodles froze to his face and everything. It's like, hey, man, if you love something, you just go do it. You may scream and cry while you do it, or have stinky feet, but you just do it.
Do it. And speaking of which, now, Lena, I've known this expression, this name for you for a while. You know, first time I heard it, I thought I was involved somehow, but I wasn't. This troublemaker thing. I mentioned it earlier, and you're kind of known for being a troublemaker. It's okay, but Blake even says on the trouble-o-meter, this panel hits an 11. And I agree, because we all have some pretty crazy stories about getting in trouble, and you don't need to bring up the whole thing. I think it's great, and what that tells me, when people get in trouble, it means you're trying things outside the box. It means you're doing things that you know you got to do, but for some reason or another, there's someone out there who doesn't think you should do it. So, am I pretty accurate here?
Well, in a way, the community is supporting that. Well, you know what? You're a troublemaker. Don't do that, but you can do it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. The community totally encourages it, doesn't it? Wow, that's all right. We love it.
Yeah.
You should definitely not do that and get it. So go ahead.
Sorry. I was just saying, just not following the rules was, that what started it, I guess.
You see Marjorie's comment. Do you want my attention, Lena?
Well, she saved me that day. I would have been in jail for some reason. I was shooting the zombies. It was on the day with you, Bryan. We were doing that shoot, the photo booth and all. So when the zombies started walking, I hopped in the street to take shots, and they were walking the streets. It's not really a big deal. The street is already closed. So, and I think people were a little bothered by it. A security guy, and he said, "Step behind the yellow line." So I did, but I waited him to leave so I can step back again, and I started shooting. But then after a while, there was a police officer because he was arranging a lot of things, and it was at the end of the walk. So what I did is, I stayed behind the yellow line, but he said actually, go to the sidewalk. I didn't register, especially when everybody was standing beside me, like no one actually moved. So I was waiting him to leave as well, so I can go back again and take photos. And he kept an eye on me, and he felt there was something gonna happen. And he approached me, and he stood in front of me, big guy, tiny little girl, just looking at him. And he said, "Do you want my attention?" And I had no idea what's happening at that moment.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was just looking at him until, Marjorie said, "You know what? Let's go to the sidewalk." "No, we don't want your attention."
No, we do not need your attention. Well, I usually I tried to go with my friend who was a cop as often as possible. So, and that would have made it easier. But nonetheless, it doesn't make sense to me. I showed you the photo before. I might as well do a quick screen share here and pull this back up. Some of my favorite photos at Zombie Walk were taken literally in the middle of the street as the zombies would, lumber past and go by, like the shot that I have up here. It's just I couldn't get this photo if I was taking pictures from the sidewalk. It couldn't happen. So it's kind of frustrating that you got pulled away and you couldn't get the photo, because I'd love to see what you have shot. You would have shot in that kind of situation. It's a great place.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
All right, so let's get into some of the show. We've talked about what a troublemaker you are, but that's okay. We're all troublemakers. It's the spice of life, and it feeds the soul, and that's really what we're talking about, isn't it? We have to make photos because we enjoy it. Anybody out there who's watching right now, there's actually quite a few viewers, which is awesome. If you're watching right now and you take pictures just because you want the money, go ahead and give me a little comment chat here. Let me know that you only want to shoot for the money, because I don't know anybody who will pipe up and say that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Gabriel, you're a professional photographer. You need the money from it, but is that the reason why you do it?
No, you only charge money to pay for more gear.
To further your love of photography, let's just say that. It's true. So, the whole point of being inspired in the world of photography, I've never had an issue with it. And then when Lena suggested we do another show on inspiration, we've done several shows on how to be inspired for photography. We've had Ron on one of our shows, Ron Clifford, who's a mentor of Lena's and mine and many of us in the communities. He's just an amazingly inspiring person, and the whole conversation of how to stay inspired has come up many, many times. I don't think I run into that issue. Like a couple weeks back, I was at work one day and I said, I want to make a movie. So I just sat down and I wrote a screenplay. You know, like I stayed up till 4 o'clock that night, and I just kind of wrote it all out. And on the 22nd, we're going to go shoot it, which I can't wait for. But, you know, I've never really had an issue. So, Lena, explain to me what you're thinking. Like, why do people need the conversation regularly about how to stay inspired?
I think we do tend, like, we forget about inspiration. And it is kind of a good thing that we forget about it, because when you forget about it, it just comes naturally to you instead of actually stressing about it. Because this year for me, I was stressing about it. I didn't shoot a lot, and I came to a point where I love photography still. I just don't want to shoot. I can't shoot anymore. It's just not working. I can't see. There's nothing. So we had a conversation. Of course, what all about inspiration is having a community. This community like brings you back and reminds you like what you got to do. It's your passion. Just keep going. To a point where I felt like I don't think it's gonna work this time, because I tried and everybody kind of was trying, doing a photo walk and all that. Until I was with Ron and we were just talking. I told him what's the issue is, and he said, well, then in your case, and you're stressing all about it, just leave the camera. Just leave it. So I did, and I left it like for a week, and it felt, first of all, it felt so good. After that week, it's like when you like start scratching yourself. I want to shoot. I want to shoot. Something is wrong here. You know. It just comes back to you, step by step, but you shouldn't really stress it.
Mm-hmm.
You know
I agree.
I mean?
I agree 100%. 100%. Gabe, do you ever find yourself in a situation where you know you have to shoot? Like, because here's my thought. Lena, you're going to OCAD. You're going to school for photography. You probably have assignments that you have to do. You probably have all these things that you have to do.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to do something purposeful, that's when I find I get roadblocks. Gabriel, do you find yourself, because, I mean, you shoot weddings, you shoot events and so on, do you find yourself going to a bar mitzvah and just be like, man, this is not working?
Yeah, usually what I try to do in that situation, if I'm there and I feel like I'm going through the motions, the first part about inspiration is understanding that it's okay to not feel inspired from time to time. It's when you start thinking that it's a bad thing, that you need to fight it, that you need to be inspired and stuff, then you start getting, it's like when you have to wake up for something really early the next morning, so you're laying in bed going, oh my God, I really need to fall asleep, which is the worst thing that you can do to fall asleep, right? It's like, I need to be inspired right now, and the last thing that will come to you is inspiration. So when I'm there and I feel like I'm just going through the motions, then I'll just say, okay, I'll just decide to focus on one thing. You know, I'm going to try and just get pictures of the bar mitzvah smiling, the bar mitzvah boy smiling, or try to just get pictures of the bride smiling. And when I just focus on that one thing and tunnel vision on that, then, you know, new ideas come to me. And it may just be new ideas around the bride smiling. Hey, let's get the bride smiling and all the bridesmaids. Now let's get you jumping. Now let's get you, you know, doing something silly with, you know, forks full of food or something like that, but they're all in that main theme. So from just saying, okay, it's fine. You know, and even if I am just going through the motions, I'm still getting pictures of the day. They're just not the most creative ones. So just understanding, as long as you're taking pictures and getting it, you're fine. Everything else is just gravy.
Mm. So, you know, for many people, staying inspired is pretty much a full-time job. When you rely on shooting for a living, you have to stay inspired all the time. And that's when I find it's the hardest. So we're all creative professionals, right? Creative professionals. I like to think of it that way. We're creative, but it's a profession. We have to treat it like that. And when the profession takes over the creative, that's when people start getting stressed. That's when you have to be professional. You have to meet your deadlines. You have to do your things, but it's just not. I shot wrestling on Saturday night. I love it. Always love it. And I'm taking pictures, and I'm thinking, oh, you know, I'm just not feeling inspired, whatever. And then all of a sudden, one thing happens and the inspiration comes, and the shooting is just happening, and I get back, and I'm looking at my pictures, and I'm like, yes, 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 this is awesome. Sometimes all it takes is just that one snap to snap you out of it. But
I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think you need to change some specific things in your life, like as in everyday life. For example, design. And I have like 5 courses, and I have to design every day, and I keep going. I have due dates. I can't just say like, you know what, I'll just wait. When I get inspired, I have an idea, I will do that. That's not going to happen. So sometimes changing your office. Let's say if you're working and you're always in your room, go work in a cafe, or do something different. Maybe a drink, maybe 30 minutes walk. That's what they say. I mean, it changes things in you that when you come back, you go like, okay, now it started to work. And the other thing I find is really stepping away. Like for me, when I start working on design, you see me like starting from the morning until night, and I feel like, oh well, now I have to sleep. Then I will go to sleep. I forget about food, forget about everything, and I'm just sitting all day. I find it when I step away and just do something else, get busy with something else, and come back, you go like, what? I spent all day trying to figure out this thing, and then when I stepped away, doing just random thing, came back, it was just right in front of me. I could have just done it right away.
No, but I think you're absolutely right. You need that separation. You need to pull yourself out of that situation and let your mind kind of reset sometimes. I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. I'm just going to the Q&A here for a quick second. Raymond Barlow, he was on our show a while back. Raymond's an amazing wildlife photographer. He does digiscoping and some really incredible photography. He runs a lot of trips to different exotic locations. He says, for me, business comes first, but doing what I love makes things easy. For my living, my work is more about teaching than it is about photography. So his passion lives for both shooting and teaching, and the money is a necessary problem. I get it. I totally get it. That's absolutely how I feel as well. Daytripper Photo kind of allows me to try all kinds of different things, which I love. We were doing the haunted photography. We did Gabriel over at the haunted house. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And then one day I'm going to be doing light painting. Then we do burning steel wool, and then we're going, well, not anymore, but when we went to the Muskoka Wildlife Center, being in cages with wolves. I mean, just from session to session, I got rejuvenated and inspired. But of course, if people don't book the sessions and I can't, pay the costs, and it comes out of pocket, and that's a problem. And this is where we run into, whether you're going to school where you have deadlines, or whether you're a professional photographer like Gabriel, or again you have deadlines and you have to meet those deadlines. I know how Gabriel stays inspired to meet deadlines. He waits to get the money after he gives the product. Isn't that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, putting it that way makes it sound like I'm only doing it for the money.
No.
The money never hurts, right? So I know that if I have, 3 customers that have paid up front and one that hasn't, my mind's more on the one that hasn't. So I just usually say to my customers, pay on delivery, and that sort of that doesn't get me inspired to create beautiful masterpieces. That inspires me to sit down on my desk and actually get to work.
Mm-hmm. But that's inspiration you need sometimes. I mean, seriously, especially when you work from home.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get caught up in, for me, playing with Dixie, going outside, working in the backyard. There's so many different things that I could do.
Yeah, and what Lena said about, go out, there's a lot of times where I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I'm hitting a Starbucks. I'll grab one of their red Satan cups and have a mocha frappuccino.
The no Christmas stuff on it.
Yeah, exactly.
This just drives me nuts. And, even to kind of touch on, we're going to squirrel here for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Just to touch about, like, last week's show, how Gabriel mentioned about Christmas and, it should be after. Well, you didn't say it should be after Labor Day. You said basically people could do whatever they want to do. You shouldn't tell them what to do. But yes, you should respect Labor Day, of course. Today is Labor Day, by the way. Remembrance Day. It's squirreling, yeah, I know. Just want to. Okay, you know what? While we're on the topic of Remembrance Day, I do sincerely want to thank all the folks who join the Army and fight for our country and do what they have to do to keep our freedoms in place the way they are. I love it. Thank you so much. I love being Canadian. I don't think I'd want to be anything else. I've lived in the States. Never want to do it again. Sorry you have to live down in Florida, Mom. One day you'll come back to Canada. Trust me, it's much better. You know it. So it's just one of these things.
When I try to explain to my 7-year-old the difference between Canada and countries where women aren't allowed to go to school and stuff, I've been known to spin a tale or two with my son, and so he always vets everything that I say by giving the little look to my wife going, it's like, is Daddy pulling my leg? And she's like, no, he's actually telling the truth about that. He just can't comprehend it.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, well,
I wish everybody would be able to comprehend it.
Thank, politicians, thank sacrifices, thank lots of things.
You mean like chicken sacrifices? They don't do that anymore.
No, I was thinking more like people that sacrifice to ensure our freedom.
Oh, yes, thank you for that. That's more important than chicken sacrifice. Why don't we go there?
I'm sure there are some chickens here, too.
Don says, just to get back to the Q&A. Yeah, I know. Lena's like, what am I doing here? Don Komarechka. I know, right? We're weird. Don Komarechka is watching the show. He says he turned down 2 potential shoots just today because they were way outside of his wheelhouse. No thanks. And that's just it, Like, here's somebody like Don who is a professional photographer again. His sole living is from his income from his photo sales and his teaching and everything he can do with seminars and so on. So you got to give somebody like that a lot of credit for sticking to it and working so hard. But to turn jobs down, that just shows that you have to do what you love.
Yeah, and there's been times where I'll interview customers for a wedding and they call me back and they're like, oh yeah, we spoke about it and we decided that we want to hire you to shoot our wedding, and I'll be like, unfortunately, that time got booked up or something like that, because I just don't want to work with them, And what people don't realize is that when you go for a meeting with a couple, you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. And certain people, I just don't want to. If I don't get a good vibe, if I don't think that we're going to jive on their wedding day, then I don't want to work with them because I'm not the right photographer for them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, especially if you are a professional photographer and you have to meet clients, it's exactly that. You're both interviewing each other. You have to see if there's the right fit. If there's not, then you're just pushing through a wall, and everything you do is just going to be frustrating.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mark Flinders just made a really interesting comment. Hi, Mark. Thank you for watching. He says when he has to be creative at work and he gets a block, he opens up Lightroom, processes a few images. It opens up the creative channels, and he can get his work done after that. I get that, and there's not just that though. It's also just software in general. I find is very inspiring. Our friend Blake, Lena, everybody, we all know Blake. He does all kinds of different editing with all kinds of different softwares, and he'll sit there and try a single photo in all these different softwares and just see where it takes him, kind of lead around through the editing world. I find that using software is inspiring extremely so much that when there's new techniques and new things in software that are launched, I'll go back and pull up my old photos that I wasn't inspired by at the time. And some of my favorite pictures have been from revisiting old stuff and applying new tricks that I learned at the Ben Wilmore sessions or the Joe McNally sessions or the RC Concepcion. And that's another thing, going to these very well done classes can be extremely inspiring as well. Lena, do you do a lot of extracurricular kind of studying, like classes and things like that? Or is it pretty much all just OCAD at this point?
It's only OCAD, yeah. I'm just involved in Scotiabank Contact Photography Festival. You've heard about it, I guess, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm taking, basically I'm the student representative at OCAD for that, and I'm handling their posters. And I'm thinking of making a photo walk for students. Hopefully, if I can do it, if we have the time. I know students are really busy, and I am so busy. So we'll see about that. But other than that, it's really school.
Raymond actually has a good question. He says to Lena, do you find inspiration from other photographers' work, or does it all come from within?
Other photographers, definitely. You look at their work, you see there are some photographers who are really passionate, or maybe not only photographers, any artist, where they're really passionate about what they're doing. Those are the people who actually inspire me. Some people just do it and, you know, just do want to maybe post pictures and do it for people instead of the love of it. So yeah, definitely photographers, artists, musicians. They do inspire me, and sometimes I look through some images. I open maybe old photos of some street photographer or somebody else and see what they're talking about, and you feel like this kind of rush coming in, and it's like, oh my god, I want to pick up my camera too and go out and photograph. So yeah.
Well, that's cool. Can you think of a specific photo, either of you, that you've taken that changed how you like to be inspired or changed where your path of photography goes? It's just kind of off the cuff. I hadn't thought of it, but like for me, for example, I was taking pictures of some action wrestling stuff, and I saw this photo here. Let me just pull this up. And this actually inspired me to do the next photo I'll show. So this was at Barrie Wrestling. This is a couple months ago. And just the detail I was able to get and so on, I just thought this would be a great reenactment type of thing. And I got this redone with lighting and the whole thing on a different day. And the one, I mean, it's the same exact move, but when you can add a different element of lighting to it, it becomes totally different. And from the other side, obviously. So for me, wrestling has inspired, shooting wrestling photography has inspired me to try so many different things that, as Don kind of said, was completely outside my wheelhouse. Lena, I'm sure you've heard me say before, and Gabe, you've certainly heard me say this, that I'm not a portrait person. I don't like shooting portraits. Not my thing. I can't connect with people on that level. It just feels like... Unless they're in tights, yeah, it's weird how that works. But the last wrestling shoot, I was with Blake, and we were working with some of the wrestlers to get a portrait in the back room. And they're fairly new wrestlers, and they didn't really have a shtick, per se. And I found myself doing the right thing to entice them to give me the reaction I was looking for. And Blake turns to me and he says, "Oh yeah, you're not a portrait photographer, right?" You know, like I was like, "Well, no, I'm not. Like you'll never see me shoot brides. You'll never shoot. Well, I'm married, but that's about the only way I'd shoot babies and brides. But you know, you find so many other people who really click with it. And I think the biggest challenge in staying inspired is put yourself in a world that you're comfortable in. You know, like I'm comfortable in the world of wrestling. I'm comfortable. I've known these guys for a very long time. I've been shooting it since 2007. Whenever they come in, they say hi. They're friendly. You know, it's like we're old friends, and I feel very comfortable. So it's my comfort space. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But if you were to take me and Gabriel, if you were to bring me on a wedding shoot or a bar mitzvah shoot, I would just be looking to you for leadership the whole time. I wouldn't know where to go, what to do. So that would really, you know, quell my inspiration for shooting that kind of stuff. So do you guys have a suggestion for people who are, you know, in these ruts or something like that to say, you know, Lena, you've already said it, kind of go into a different environment. And that's one of the first things you mentioned to me when we started doing the show is how you can use your environment as inspiration. So can you clarify on that a little bit?
Well, one of the things is, let's say for me, I love musician, I love music. So, well, why not surround myself by this, like, music, and I can shoot those musicians and just enjoy what's happening, because there's, like, kind of an energy happening there. Being in the moment, you listen to the music and the movement, and you have to capture them. So that's one of the things. You could surround yourself, just exactly like you did, having to shoot the wrestlers. Another thing is, you probably have heard that a million times. Pick the people who are like, do not, absorb the energy of you or something. And I think that is really true. Some people, and what you need is people who are passionate as well. Maybe you get to be friends, maybe not really photographers, but passionate about what they're doing. So musicians or even engineers, doctors, but there's something they're doing in their life that they care about. Not just like, I'm just gonna be a random person living around here, just doing whatever I want to do. I mean, there's that kind of energy from people that gives you inspiration, gives you that energy too. So that's one environment. The other environment, what I meant, if you're alone, you could, as I said, changing your actual environment. Where are you doing your work? Or have you spent the day or like a couple of days at home, you haven't done anything? Why not just drive up to somewhere else and take a walk, see the leaves, see the nature, meet some people, just talk with people. It depends. You just have to change it and surround yourself with good things instead of the bad things that actually affects you, without sometimes feeling that it has affected you.
So true, so true. Surround yourself with people that influence you in a positive way and don't drain your will to live. That is the first point you made. Absolutely hits home with me, and that's kind of why I like hanging around Gabriel so much, because he's such a positive, big kind of personality. It's just a lot of fun.
I'm not sure how to take that.
Well, no, how many years have we done this show now? This is almost 4 years, right? So
yeah.
It's still fun every time, and that's because you just don't know what they're going to say. You're always going to get kind of thrown off kilter a little bit and be left with a little bit of surprise. I love that.
Like when you tell me to have a good day.
What's that?
Like when you tell me to have a good day, and I tell you I don't appreciate you telling me what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
but it's from a good place. Actually, I'm going to go to the Q&A for a quick second here. Marjorie says that she's outside of her comfort zone is where she is most inspired. I love that. Marjorie challenges herself. I love that about her photography. She puts herself into a position where she hasn't really, done things that she's super satisfied with, I guess, in the past, and works at it. I give you a lot of credit for that. And I don't know if that would work for me too well. I think it would take a very long time for me to feel inspired by being outside of my comfort zone. And then Gary chirps up and he says he's outside his comfort zone when he's on a photo walk with Lena. There you go.
No comment.
No comment. Lots of love. Amir says he shoots for fun and passion, as I think everybody should. I totally agree with that. I think photography is one of those things, like music and like drawing and art. It is what feeds your soul, and that's what works for me. I've always been some degree of the arts. My mother is a barbershop chorus director. She plays almost every instrument. My father is a folk music musician. He's been in a band called the Yeomen since I was born. They've recorded, I don't know, close to 10 albums. So, it's that whole environment that I was raised in, was to be creative and to be unique and carve out your own little path. And I'm just blessed. And I know it took me a long time, because it's only since I worked at Henry's in the past 10 years or so that I could really feel that I've done this. But I played the drums, I've done a bunch of stuff, but photography is really what's clicked for me, so to speak. And I think it doesn't necessarily mean to be what's inspiring in the world of photography. It can be whatever you do. I know friends who are architects. What inspires them? I know people who are police officers. What inspires them? So you just have to look out for whatever inspires you to keep going and to keep on growing with what you're doing. Bill says his comfort zone is expanded and his photography is taken to high level when he's on a photo walk with Lena. Look at that. That's the magic secret, isn't it?
Lena is the muse.
Yeah, apparently.
Hello, Bill.
Raymond, he says, also, Lena, how would you define the concept of art and how photography relates to art? I think when we look at the concept of the concept of they're two subjects and work with inspiration. Learning art inspires me to be a better photographer. Interesting. Did that make sense? Can you read the Q&A thing there? I kind of choppy with her.
Yeah, how would you define the concept of art and photography relates to art? That has been something throughout history where it wasn't art until they finally got it to be art. But then, how could you define art? Why is photography art? Or, I mean, it's when you come to create an image, a conceptual shoot, let's say, you will choose the colors, you will choose how to frame it, you will choose who's the subject, or what is the idea about, what do you want to communicate. I mean, art is about communicating, at least to me. Yeah, you do enjoy it as well when you look at it, and it leaves you to interpret the picture or the piece of art, what I mean is, like, each person would interpret something like this piece of art differently, and that's kind of a different concept to art. And that photography as well, like, you will see it differently than I do, and just leave it to the viewer. And I don't know if I answered your question. It's kind of a big one.
It is. Anything to add to it, Gabriel?
Yeah, I mean, remember when photography first came out, it was developed by scientists, and it wasn't considered art by painters, because painters would sit down with their easel and take a couple hours to create a photo, and a photographer could come up and in just a few minutes capture it. So, what is art? I mean, there's things that I look at. I look at a Apache A640 attack copter, and it's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. And my mom, the raw fooder pacifist, looks at it and she doesn't see how I see any beauty in that. I mean, there's things people can see beauty in, things that other people think are horrific. So, what is art, right? That's what is love? What is? I mean, that's a big question, right?
It's soul food. That's my answer to that. It's soul food. Everything that feeds your soul, and the soul is what keeps us who we are and keeps us unique and individual. And if we're feeding that soul with crap, then we're crap.
But define crap.
Crap would be. I could say it, but I might have to move. No, I'm just joking.
Well, but what you say is like, this is crap is what other people derive their inspiration from.
True.
Right. So, yeah. It
was a good question. Good question. Thanks, Raymond. Here, Don says, photography is the reason why I go to certain adventures. For a great image, even if I don't get the shot, the resulting adventure is always worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that he says that. I could recall a story that Don mentioned, how he was out in Alaska, or way up north, Yukon maybe, I think it was Yukon, with his family members, and they had shot a moose. And they couldn't find it. They had shot it, and it had run away, and they couldn't find it, and that's like really bad. So everybody there in their party were looking for this moose, couldn't find it. They had to go back home. Next day, they went out to look for it again, but all of a sudden, Don, with his photographer eye, sees a bald eagle circling around, and he knows that this is a regular pattern for the bald eagle. And, so he tells the group, hey, let's go just see this bald eagle and take some pictures of that. So as they go there, they realize the bald eagle is actually circling around the moose that they had found. So here's where his photography lent to the adventure and lent to, the hunter's end game, I guess you can say. So it's so cool how it could just help you in so many different areas. Gary,
sorry.
No, go ahead. After you.
I was just saying that reminded me of the first opening, like when you mentioned the quote. It wasn't about only photography, but it just makes you explore, makes you just go on an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
I
love that.
Gets you out of the house, and gets the old steps on your Fitbit, and gets you out of your routine, and gets
it just makes you meet a lot of people too.
For sure. Hey, without photography, I wouldn't even have a Daytripper photo community. So, and I've met so many cool people through this community. It's just amazing. I just want to get to this though. Gary says that the reason why he says that walking with you is outside of his comfort zone is because no admittance signs and you do not mix. So apparently you like to, get in there, eh? You're a little rebel.
Well, now there's a story there. Well, me and Gary. We have a lot of stories there.
That's it?
Okay.
You're not going to tell us a story?
I'm going to tell you the story. Like, how can I not tell you that story? That's how it started as being a troublemaker.
Okay.
I love horses. We were on a photo walk. I think the park was Sunnybrook Park. And they have some horses over there. And I was like, what? Look, there are horses. So I go to the stable and went in, and the sign does say, cannot enter. Well, but I see the horse. I mean, come on, really? I can just get in there and touch the horse. So
surely they don't mean me.
Like, no. Gary said, but you can't go in. But he still followed me. And that's when, like, I have my cover photo is when that happened. So a lady came out and she said, well, you cannot be here. So I turned around to Gary and I told him, well, I told you. So we went out then.
Oh, bad
He
you.
came out and then there was an angry man there. Like, I mean, really, there's a sign that says, you cannot enter. Like, what are you doing? So I stood beside Gary and I said, I speak no English.
Oh.
No.
Oh, no, not speaking English. I've done that a few times. No speaking English.
Speak no English.
That's good.
That's awesome. Well done. Yeah, you definitely have to come urban exploring with us sometime. That'll be great. Raven says, thank you for the insight, by the way, from answering his question. Very good. And
Thank
Gary
you for the
says he's also passing a hello to you from Paul Howard.
Hello, Paul.
Very cool. Gabe. Don says, Gabe, you're totally right about the perception of photography as an art in the beginnings. Be sure to watch the documentary Tim's Vermeer that showcases art as photography. Centuries before modern photography existed. It's on Netflix. So check that out, guys. Tim's Vermeer.
We're really in it right now. Oh, okay. Oh, ooh. 89% are Rotten Tomatoes. That's good. Okay.
I'm making notes of it myself.
Netflix this up. Add this to my playlist.
There you go. Oh, and by the way, if everybody who's watching didn't catch the drinking game, go get your shot glass right now, and every time we say Don or Don Komarechka, you have to take a shot. That's the drinking game around our show. Just I'd remind the world. Apparently it works. So, okay. So Amir says, getting my first steps in wedding photography. I would love to know, how was your first wedding you shot by yourself, Gabe?
How was it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was nerve-wracking. It was. Oh, geez, you know what? I'm trying. For me, it was such a gradual transition that we were shooting parties, and then we were second shoot. No, not even second shooters. I was Uncle Bob at weddings, and then like the first wedding that I shot on my own wasn't a paid one. I didn't even know I was getting into wedding photography. So for me, it was a gradual transition. I think that if you're on an actual track to become a wedding photographer, it's going to be a lot more nervous because the first wedding you shoot by yourself would probably be a paid wedding. So I was lucky I got eased into that. Plus, for the first X amount of weddings, 30, 40, 50 weddings, whatever, I worked with my wife. So it was always the two of us. So if we missed a shot, the other person got it. So I'm not really equipped to answer that 100%, but I can imagine it would be nerve-wracking and exhilarating, just like every single wedding for me is now. I always get butterflies the night before a wedding.
Mm.
Yeah, except my butterflies hold tiny little knives and stab me, so it's like terror and pain. Yeah, it doesn't get any easier, and when it does get easier, I'm going to stop shooting weddings.
That's cool. Lena, do you shoot weddings?
I second shot weddings, but didn't do it by like as a first shooter. I don't think I'm ready for a first shooting. Like,
yeah, you got to build
being
up
a
to
first
that.
shooter.
You definitely have to build
Kinda,
up.
yeah.
I'm just happy people don't think of me as a wedding photographer and keep on asking me to do it, because that whole answer of "you can't afford me," it doesn't really work. It's just, I end up having to say no. Anyway, Raymond says, "Be careful, new trespassing laws are coming." Well, that's not cool.
I'm afraid so.
Hopefully, at least not until after November 22nd.
Huh.
And okay, so Don is grabbing his glass, and Blake, that means you got to pour. So, and Mark says bacon equals love. Don't know where that fit into the conversation, but I agree with him 100%. So, bacon. Okay. Why not? Sure.
I love lamb.
Lamb. Grilled cheese sandwich.
You ever seen Anchorman?
Yes.
The character that Steve Carell or something like that plays, where he's actually a little cognitively impaired, and I love lamp.
On that note, Lena, Blake has a question for you. What was the inspiration behind the Johannes Lindstedt portrait and your recent portrait with your friend in the dog poop incident shoot? Is he setting you up for disaster here?
Look at their questions.
Look at their questions. They love you.
For Johannes Lindstedt, I was in the jazz festival, Beaches Jazz Festival. It happens every year, and it was my first. The jazz festival is basically Queen Street is closed. The west of Queen, I guess, and bands will be playing every half an hour. So bands are all around, along Queen Street. So one band plays, the other waits, and then the other plays, and the other waits. And that you have to just keep going. It's really amazing, just listening to those musicians and all. So that day I was just like with my camera, taking pictures, going back and forth. It was busy, going through the crowds to look at who are the musicians and take photos. And I was just in the mood of like the music. I was filled with music that day. And then on the way back, I heard this kind of music that just like called me. I was like, I want to see that before I leave. I want to see who's playing that. And I went in like between the crowds, and I saw the musician, and there's like kind of energy happening in that band. It was amazing. It was very festive. I went back home, and I still had the music in my head, and I looked the music, and I kept listening to the music, his music, and then it just came in, like that inspiration, that moment. It was night. So I was like, you know what? I can do this shoot. Like, my shot needs, if I want to do it, I know he's playing again in the Taste of Danforth. And so that, I think, left me with 10 days. I know I need an ND filter. I know I need a tripod, which I didn't have at the time. I know I needed a lot, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this shot. I don't know how. It was that inspiration, just like, filled it. I'm going to do it. And so I arranged it. I went a couple of days beforehand to crowds, and I was trying to get the shot, like a shot. And then I contacted him, and he was okay with it, and we did it that day after his performance. I'm going to show the picture unless you have it, Bryan.
Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah, it's that one.
How do I know these things? It could possibly be because I've got Blake feeding me texts now. Thank you, Blake, for that. That's great. So, okay, so
yeah,
this
so
is amazing.
it is that one.
you have to explain this photo.
Well, conceptually, for me, when I listened to the music and I knew he's a composer, the music is really inspiring. I mean, like, I just imagine him in a crowd, like crowded area, but he's still isolated himself to compose this music, and they still like play this music for people who are really passing by. And I was like, I think that idea works as a person, as music, as a festival. It just like, you know, it all combined to me to create it. Um, I I used an ND filter there, and I used my 50mm, and I had my D90. I got some help. It was very, very sunny. It was impossible to shoot that shot without having a scrim. And thanks to Rob for making this happen, because he held, if you can see the bottom, there's like some shadow over there. That's from the scrim.
Over here?
And yeah, the bottom, yeah.
Okay.
So half of it is sunny, and the other half is actually shade. The other thing is it's in camera, shot in camera. Johannes is a yogi, so I don't really have to worry about composing, like do a composite shot, and he stayed still like for a good like time. So I was able to pull off this shot with pretty sharp expression, and you know, the guitar and all that. So
it's a 3-second image, and he stayed still completely for the 3 seconds.
Yeah.
As everybody moved around. Brilliant. Brilliant, yeah. Brilliant. And here, you know, this is a crazy thing. I'm looking at your EXIF here, and you have a 50mm f1.4 lens. And of course, what does everybody do when they use a 50mm 1.4? They shoot a 1.4. I bought a 1.4 lens. Let's shoot a 1.4. But no, you know what you were doing. You closed your aperture down to f16. You let in less light, which gave you a longer exposure. You used an ND filter to let less light in again, which gave you an even longer exposure. At 3 seconds, what it took for everybody to blur in the background. And you have a yogi sitting still for you, like a rock. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. I tried to do the shot again. I was trying to create a series of it, and I made the attempt last year. Last year, was it? No, it was this year, earlier this year. It didn't really work. I know I had the person sharp. I had to use flash, but I wasn't in a really crowded area. I had friends to help me with, but it kind of failed. So yeah, I need really a lot of people to create such images.
Yeah, but you learn from that, and that's
definitely
as important as anything. You know, you learned what worked and what didn't, and you've done it in 2 different situations. Brilliant, excellent stuff. Gary says, since the poop incident happened before your inspired leaf shot, would you say the highs of the day need to be balanced with the lows, and talk about proper footwear? Okay, so interesting. The highs have to be balanced with the lows. That's an interesting way of thinking about it. Sorry, what was that?
Sir, I was saying I'm not sure I get the first part. I understand the footwear because I got used to that, but would you say the highs of a day needs to be balanced out? Oh, okay. Maybe.
I don't know if there's a rule.
I'm wondering. I'm just going back in incidents and thinking.
And I think the other photo that Blake was talking about was this one here, with the leaves. This is your friend?
Oh, yes. Okay. That shot, it was exactly after the incident.
The poop
because I was
incident.
looking for the lights. Yeah. Why did you mention the poop incident here?
So you
But,
were focused
yeah,
on this. You were focused on getting her in the light, and you stepped into a pile of poop.
yeah. I was looking for the light, and I was looking around, looking at the trees, and whoop, you know what happened.
Yeah, you
But
gotta
then-
suffer for the greater good.
Yeah, for sure. And well, it's even worse. I thought on my shoes was the leaf that came into my shoes. And I was like, you know what is this leaf? And I was still looking up and all that, and I feel there's something, there's more to the story. I feel something on my hand that isn't really cool.
Oh. Okay.
It was a disaster. No one wanted to touch the camera. No one wants to do anything with me at that day.
Well, it's better they call you a troublemaker than a fecophiliac, because that would just be a bad
Well,
name.
thankfully I had the troublemaker first.
Yeah, exactly. And Gary
You can now change it. That's it.
Gary says
Yeah,
you've got a
and-
really good shot while putting up with crappy boots.
They hate my boot.
All right, very cool. And Marjorie, what's November 22nd? November 22nd, I'm shooting my movie in a potentially trespass unfriendly location. So, yeah. Lena, maybe you and Gatas would be my second shooters when I get my first gig. That's from Amir. What do you think of that?
I'll be waiting for you for your first, and I'll be your second.
There you go. Yeah, perfect answer. And Raymond says, very well done for your photo of the blurred background. That was very well done. Great photo. Excellent stuff. All right, so we're just about done. That's a pretty full show so far. Guys, that was a lot of stuff. Anything you'd like to add to the conversation of inspiration? Gabriel, you mentioned about music is very inspiring.
Yeah, well, when she was mentioning about how the music was moving her, and she heard it later on and stuff like that, and music can be a huge part. There's a lot of services out there. I mean, I know everybody has their own personal music collection, but I had subscribed to Google Music. It's $8 a month. You get access to 3 million or 30 million. I think maybe it's 30 million songs. And so basically any song that pops in your head at any time, whether it be from your childhood to something that was just released that day, I can just pull it up on my phone and start playing it. And when I'm editing, like if I'm editing photos from the zombie walk, I'll have a zombie movie on my second monitor. And so certain photos, I'll play certain types of music. And it sort of helps that certain type of creativity. I won't watch a zombie movie while editing a wedding.
No, probably not. But
No.
watching a zombie movie while editing wrestling would work very well.
There you go. Lots of clarity slider. Watching a zombie movie, I'm automatically going for the clarity slider. You don't really want to do that a lot.
True. Good point. Good point. No, I'm absolutely with you on that. I'm a big music lover, and for me, if I'm not listening to the right music, Shelly watches TV all the time. She has the wrestling channel on. She has, the Food Network, stuff like that. But if I'm trying to edit, if I'm trying to actually focus or concentrate, I'll come in the office and I don't have a TV in here. I'll just put on my music and listen to some, Deep Forest or some Enigma or, something a little bit more calming, relaxing, and I can just kind of cruise along. So, yeah definitely,
Enigma,
music is a
love it.
huge asset. Raymond, I'm glad you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for watching. He says that we all three did very well. That's excellent. And Marjorie, Lena, you rocked it. Can't wait to see you next week. That's what Marjorie said.
Thank you.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you have fun, Lena?
I did. Thank you really for having me and for all the questions and all the guys who are watching.
It was very good, and thank you so much for being on. Before we leave today, I want to remind folks, if you are watching this, please click like on your YouTube channel, subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends, let people know we're doing this stuff. This is episode 150. This isn't something we just started, and hopefully we're getting better, hopefully, and time will tell if you guys think that. But if you do like the show, like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and don't forget to join the Daytripper Photo community on Google+ if you haven't already. It's where all the magic happens when we have really cool events coming up, and we do have a really cool event coming up on
And
Sunday.
all the inspiration happens as well.
And all the inspiration happens. Absolutely. Thank you for throwing that in there. Gabe, Sunday. What's happening Sunday? Sunday.
So Sunday we have the One Light Infinite Possibilities workshop. So basically we're going to have a professional model there, and we're going to have, I think, 4 different stations. It serves a few purposes. One, it's going to be a tutorial on portrait shooting, but the primary thing is there's sort of 4 main types of lighting that you can use for portrait shooting, and they're all very different, and they all have their own pros and cons. So basically flash, like speed light, just an off-camera flash, studio lighting, consistent lighting, and like ring flash or beauty dish. Are all different types of lighting that you can use for portraits. And usually when somebody finds one that really works for them, they like to stick to that, and that becomes their look. That becomes their signature look. But finding out whether constant lighting or beauty dishes or ring lights or off-camera flash or studio lights is your thing can be really expensive, because you have to either rent it or buy it and find out that it's not really, doing it for you. So in this workshop, we're going to have all that stuff set up, and you can go around and play with all of it and shoot a professional model and ask questions and get instruction, and should be fun.
And it's only $75.
Yeah, and it's only $75.
So this is one of the least expensive Daytripper sessions that we'll run. It's going to be a full-length session, about 4 hours long, 3-4 hours, and we're going to have all different zones. There's going to be class time, and then shooting time, and then class time, and then shooting time. So there's lots of blocks of time available to get hands-on shooting. I'm very excited. Gabe's idea, excellent idea. I can't wait to do it. So that's this Sunday from 5:30 p.m. till 9:30 p.m. If you'd like to register for that, go to daytripperphoto.com. It's all up there right now. And there's a lot of other sessions up now, too, like the indoor light painting in January or the fire on ice in January. Oh, indoor light painting, man. With that thing's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of cool stuff. Joe LeDuc is helping with that one, too. So he was on our last one. He's going to help again. And Gabriel, hopefully you'll be there as well, depending on how many people register. Can't wait. Lots of fun. Okay, so Mentaj and Gary both say that you did well. Gary's actually surprised by that. I don't know why he would be. But, that's okay. That's all right.
That's Gary. That's Gary.
You are inspiring Gary now. You see that?
Yeah, now he's going to go out and shoot at night.
At night right now. I might do that. Actually, it's beautiful out tonight. Okay, so thank you, everybody, for watching our show tonight. Thank you so much. I had a great time doing it. Glad to be back this week. Unfortunately, Phil wasn't here. He wasn't feeling well, and he didn't make it back and chat to us, so he must be feeling worse than he thought. Gabriel, thank you so much for being here today, as always. Awesome to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
And don't forget, the photo challenge that is currently running is not Yo Mama.
Just go by what's written in front of me, all right?
The photo challenge is motherhood, and there haven't been any photos submitted, so next week's show may be a short one. That's not so bad. Please, if you'd like to submit some photos for our photo challenge, it is motherhood, and I'm sure there's lots of folks out there who have some great ideas for motherhood photos, and we can't wait to see them. We'll put a reminder on the Daytripper community in a few minutes to let you know what that is. And also, we're going to have a quote. We actually have a quote this week, and it has very little to do with photography, since we're talking about inspiration. The quote is from Dennis P. Kimbrough, who is a photographer, but he says, "Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it." I agree with that 100%. I'll take the 90 and the 10, put them together, 100%. And I agree. 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it, and that's so true. And whenever you're in a stressful situation, if you're feeling uninspired, if anything is happening to you in any way, shape, or form, just remember it's how you react to it that makes the big difference. And we all make mistakes. We all have good ideas and bad ideas, and how you react to the repercussions or whatever is what makes you stronger and what makes you a better person all around. So don't forget that. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it, from Dennis Kimbrough. Very cool. Okay, that's it. We're out. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.